There was a boy once, John. He wasn't born broken. He wasn't born angry or lost. He started the way all children do, with wonder in his eyes, asking why, dreaming in colors, believing the world was kinder than it really was. But the world didn't know what John needed, and the people who should have known didn't bother to learn. His father came home late, loud, unpredictable, heavy with rage. His mother disappeared into silence, a ghost who never admitted she was hurting. John learned to tiptoe through the house, memorizing every squeaky floorboard like a map of landmines. The dinner table felt like a battlefield. Arguments were sharp, cold, and never resolved. No one apologized. No one acknowledged the damage. And what hurt John wasn't just the trauma, it was the denial of it. The forced smiles in public, the pretending, the way no one ever said, "This is not okay." That gaslighting of reality became the poison. A human mind is resilient, but not invincible. Trauma doesn't stay in memory, it settles into the body. It warps the nervous system, it rewires how someone sees the world, and most tragically, how they see themselves. It teaches a child, you are not safe, you are not worthy, you are not real. And then the child grows up, the mask grows with them. John became funny, charming. He learned to read people, to shift into whatever they needed him to be, a master of adaptation. But underneath it all, he was empty, hollow, like a house that survived a fire, walls still standing, soul burned away. That is what unprocessed trauma does. It splits the self. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents." John inherited that tragedy, not just through genetics, but through silence, suppression, and the core legacy of emotional neglect. He didn't snap. He began quietly, insomnia, the sense that something was wrong, even on good days. Then paranoia, rage, a deep, corrosive self-hatred. He couldn't trust anyone, not even himself. Relationships became landmines. He would push people away, then beg them to stay. Love became a battlefield where he played both soldier and the savior. He tried therapy once, told the therapist he felt numb, that his dreams were scrambled, that sometimes he didn't recognize the man in the mirror. They called it anxiety, depression, but labels can't touch the trauma buried that deep. Because when trauma is ignored, it doesn't fade, it waits, it festers, it grows roots in the dark, and eventually it erupts. Maybe as a breakdown, maybe as addiction, maybe in sudden silence from someone who used to laugh the loudest. John began talking to himself, not random thoughts, but conversations, arguments, screams. He would pass mirrors without flinching. He carried a notebook, scribbling thoughts that no one else could decipher. People said he changed, but the truth? He didn't change. He just ran out of energy to hide. That's what no one tells you about going crazy. It's not madness, it's exhaustion. The soul giving up the performance. When someone lives their entire life suppressing their fear, pain, and truth, the psyche eventually fractures. The mind is not a machine, it's a fragile tapestry, and when too much of it is soaked in silence and shame, it tears. John started believing the voices, seeing patterns where there were none. Every radio ad, every stranger's glance, every flicker of light became a message. Why? Because a mind starved of order creates meaning out of chaos. That is the cruel trick of unresolved trauma. It doesn't let you rest. It disguises itself as intuition, anxiety, anger, even spiritual signs. But underneath it all is a child screaming, "Please notice me. Please see me. Please help me." By then, the world had already turned him into a cautionary tale. People fear madness. They turn into spectacle. John wasn't weak. He was strong, just for too long. Some call it madness, but Carl Jung had another word, individuation, becoming whole by facing the dark, chaotic parts of yourself. But for John, it didn't feel noble. It felt like drowning. You don't lose your mind in one moment. It happens slowly, like a tiny crack in a mirror, that spreads until the whole reflection shatters. When you bury the past, you don't kill it, you multiply it. John wasn't just haunted by memories, he carried years of abandonment, confusion, shame, and grief that he was never allowed to express. All the moment he stayed silent as a child came screaming back as an adult. This is where the line between sanity and insanity blurs. Psychology calls it the false self, the persona built to survive. It pleases and performs. It hides the truth so deeply that even you forget it's there. But the truth never forgets you. One day, the mask cracks, and when it shatters, what's left? The shadow, the rage you disowned, the grief you minimized, the inner voice whispering, you were never loved that way you needed. This is what going crazy really is. Not demons, not weakness, but the side breaking under the weight of pretending. Madness is the soul's protest. John began writing again, not for clarity, but for release. Scribbles, drawings, sometimes just one sentence repeated 50 lines. I didn't deserve this. That sentence didn't heal him, but it opened a door to anger, sadness, honesty, and honesty is where healing begins. This time, when John returned to therapy, he didn't perform. He didn't try to be insightful or spiritual. He just cried for the boy who grew up too fast, for the man who never felt safe, for the years spent pretending. He wasn't magically cured, but he wasn't lost anymore. He learned that the madness wasn't his enemy, it was his messenger. A cry from the parts of him he's abandoned long ago. And when he finally turned toward them, they didn't attack him, they thanked him, because he was finally listening. If you have ever felt like you're going crazy, if the world feels too loud and you feel too broken, remember this. You're not broken, you're buried. Healing isn't becoming someone new, it's remembering who you were before the pain taught you to forget. So, where do you begin? Start with silence. Not the numb silence of dissociation, but the sacred silence of listening. Write, walk, cry, sit with yourself. Do it without shame. Read books that explore the unconscious. These books, they are mirrors. Don't heal to be perfect, heal to be real. So that one day, when you look in the mirror, you finally recognize the person staring back. Because the world doesn't need more masks. It needs people who have walked through their own shadow and then returned with the truth.